Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Toria.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. Welcome back to another episode of the Nightly Rant. Tonight, we have a guest.
We have a guest? Who is it?
Yes, we have a guest. Jason, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're happy
excited
to have you. We're happy to have you. Glad we overcame the early tech issues.
Absolutely.
Small technical issues.
My entire life is a technical issue. I'm literally just buried my cell phone in the yard like a grave. So I feel that. I feel you.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, obviously, because you weren't here, we use a different tool to record these shows usually. And Jason joined, no problem. We chatted for a while, no problem. That usually reveals tech issues. And then we hit record and boom, he just went to a black screen. And we did it a second time. Same thing. So now we moved to a more stable tool, and here we are, and it seems to be working.
Hooray. Brings you here to chat with us.
I should start with my hook from my recent TEDx talk. So my dad warped my mind from the age of 5, and he used a technique called Monty Python's flying circus.
I was going to ask if your dad was into Star Trek, because that's how my dad warped my mind.
That too. Oh, yeah, no, that too. He was into the OG TV show one, of course. So I was raised on that as well, for sure. And Star Wars, of course, the originals. But yeah, no, he was definitely really into Monty Python.
That's fantastic. I love Monty Python.
I find it interesting that you bring that up, because I know that you have an opinion about how Monty Python led to TikTok, and I want to hear it. I'm really intrigued by this, like sincerely intrigued by this.
Right? I am too. I'm waiting to find out too. Give me 1 second. I just asked Chat GPT.
Let's see what it tells you.
But no, I got into, or I'm getting into, public speaking now. And as I mentioned, I just did a TEDx talk. They just went live on YouTube a few weeks ago. But so I've been developing different talks and different talk ideas. I used to try to develop films and film ideas. That was a lot harder, I think, because in films you have to, even if you have an idea, then you need 30 people and not be assholes, and you need $5 million. And so it's just a lot harder than doing one public talk or whatever. But it occurred to me that the sort of huge cultural revolution that we saw in what I'll call the late 60s, call it the 70s, was the biggest for 50 years. We could posit. And I'm putting Monty Python at the helm of that in terms of this concept, even though, of course, there was this massive cultural revolution that took place in America and took place across the pond, and et cetera. And there was a ton of other actors. But Monty Python might have been, in some ways, as you guys know, dear to me and from very early age. And it occurred to me that same kind of massive revolution of culture and of art, I guess you could say, or what kind of art, of video art, really didn't take place again for 50 years and started with Vine. But basically cutting down, being able to distill huge ideas, huge concepts, huge jokes, huge things that communicate massively to 1 million people in 1 second, to condense that down into a video that's only 10 seconds long and has this incredible impact. That to me is this sort of sweeping change that we've only seen now in the last, again, it was 2016, but really in just the last few years. And it feels like the direction that everything is going in, where things are shorter and shorter, and we have shorter and shorter attention spans. But that was the idea. And I do think it's around the sort of like commodification of things into these small, very consumable bites. And now that doesn't sound great. So there's some bad things, of course, about maybe the TikTokization of our culture. But I do think there's also, just conceptually and artistically, there are some interesting things. And it reminds me of Monty Python being able to distill huge concepts down into one weird gesture or 1 2-second joke.
It makes me think of what I just saw Joe Biden's presidential campaign, re-election campaign, announce. The less is more strategy. They're gonna shorten their speeches. They're gonna not give as many interviews, not let him answer as many questions. And I think, for one thing, I think that's hilarious because they want to say he's competent to be the president, but then they do that. But why I think it's hilarious is that I don't think he could answer less questions than he already answers. I just don't understand it. And it's like, why are we here? Did Monty Python bring us here too, maybe? It's just weird. Why are we here? Why do we have this situation now where two people who are ancient are arguing over who's too old to be the president? It's crazy, man.
Oh, man. And exactly, that's the bad side of it, is that's the bad side of less is more, is you're getting less. It's not less is more, it's you want more and you get less.
Yeah.
It is crazy just in our own lifetimes what we as people, quote, quote, got, if you will, as opposed to how much we had to work or how hard we had to work to get that, compared to the way it is now. And then 2019, 2020, multiply that times 10 or 100, where we're barely getting the tiniest of dreggy, poisonous little crumbs that are maybe just tinily trickling down towards us at the very bottom. And even for that, we should be grateful at what wonder our government carries off in terms of a lot of shit we don't care about. So it's really, that's the bad side. Thank you, Monty Python, for Joe Biden and Donald Trump and
the hell we're in, right?
All of them. No, I don't think we can blame John Cleese for that. We can blame TikTok. Let's blame TikTok for the bad.
I like to blame TikTok for all of my problems.
See,
but am I the only one who keeps expecting Biden and Trump to get on a stage to have a debate and then just be hitting each other with those giant foam mallets instead of actually speaking because it would be more effective?
I think that's funny.
Yes, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
People who listen to the show will not be surprised by this, but I don't get TikTok because to me, being brief is difficult. How about I just put it that way? And because I'm very analytical and so I try to make a TikTok and I'm like, holy crap, how am I going to jam this idea into 60 seconds? I don't get it. And even watching some of the real short content, I go, I want more. What's going on? It doesn't click for me.
I think it does. I think it definitely leaves you wanting more. And I feel like that's part of the quote algorithm. I don't know. What's funny is I'm about to unleash my comedy talents, be they 0 or 100, on the unsuspecting public. And I'm actually starting a TikTok account this week. I swear to God. And I'm going to be doing some different comedy skits like Unhinged Alcohol Salesman and other weird. I'm just going to finally let myself actually do it after 55 years of not doing that. But what was the point I was making with that? Oh, yeah. And I've been starting to create, quote, content, but in any way, used to be known, or FKA art. But in those videos, in some of these, I do picture these quick one-liners. I actually really, a little quick, whether it's a skit that's funny or a skit that's a little more abstract and weird, because I like really abstract. Of course, things like Monty Python had a lot of abstract weirdness going on all the time. It wasn't just jokes and yucking it up. Yeah, exactly. Somehow I've gotten really into that, and I'm enjoying thinking of these quick little 10-second skits or 15-second kind of funny or what things. So maybe that's just in the realm of comedy. I don't know. If I was, obviously it doesn't work for me to explain. I could almost have done a Monty Python thing. There's so many skits I could have done based on you asking me to explain this. I could have done the one where I'm like, Mark, I'll tell you, it is my idea. And I will tell you, and the next thing out of my mouth will be my idea. It is now. And you're like, go ahead. I'm like, yes, I will, Mark. I will tell you. Or I could have had to summarize the 60-minute thing in 1 minute. You know, the summarizing Proust competition where they have to summarize all 9 books of Proust what is it called? A Lost Time Remembrance in 10 seconds or something. It's a silly one. Anyway.
I have to ask you, is the first skit for your TikTok going to be your phone unburying itself from where you buried it in the yard?
That is a very good question, because you might think that it is. I definitely have a talk that is called I Killed My Cell Phone. But no, my first skit is going to be one of my Unhinged Alcohol Salesman skits, because I actually have this wonderful local day job here. I actually talk about it in my TEDx talk. where I get to schmooze hundreds of tourists all day long and serve them free tastes of exquisite small batch alcohols. And the ensuing comedy is just priceless and never end on a daily basis. I only work 2 days a week there, but it's 8 hours a day for 2 days a week of just unending, unimaginable material. And I really, my bosses are wonderful, and they let me do whatever I want there. Right now it's a really relaxed environment there. We also sell the shit out of it. So we're not just having fun.
Half my material is for my day job too, because I work in Airbnb. Right? So
there you go. There you go. Absolutely. I love it.
I find it. I actually do tech projects, and so I work with a lot. Interestingly enough, there's a trend these days of large corporations putting their finance department in charge of tech projects, and I can see some logic to it, but the biggest flaw to it is they don't understand what they're asking for. And it's always really frustrating, but it does create some funny stories that you can tell, and you can change it up a bit to hide and mask who you're talking about. But there's some funny stuff. So I think we all see the same thing. Like your regular, as you put it, day job brings you some great material on the same press.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Especially, and I hear you. And I was in film for a decade. First when I was in Kenya, and then the last years of being there, and then I had a lot of success there, but then tried to parlay that into Hollywood. So I spent 4 years in Hollywood over the pandemic. And oh my God, the stories I have from there it is not for the faint-hearted. I will tell you that.
So I got to tell you guys, Jason said earlier, he joked that he was going to ask ChatGPT. I did ask ChatGPT, how did Monty Python lead to TikTok?
Oh, nice.
And what's interesting is it talks about there are two very different expressions of entertainment and culture. And you had mentioned culture in the very beginning, but they say it's a broad connection. Like it's not linear from one to the other, but what they feel like is that TikTok is a digital continuation of the rapid fire skit like comedy from Monty Python. And I can see that because I always used to tell friends, like, my God, those movies are so schizophrenic. They're just like all over the place. And it's just like 2 hours of little 1-minute sketches just all through it.
Yes, correct. Exactly. And I think that is so okay. Chat GPT gets it. Amazing.
Yeah, I think it's amazing too. But
it makes me think always of, especially one skit. I think I remember some interview with, I don't know if it was maybe John Cleese saying that this was his favorite skit of all time or something, or maybe it was his favorite Michael Palin skit, is something to that effect. But it was them standing both, of course, wearing like full army regalia or whatever, and standing, I don't know, there was the edge of this kind of like big quarry or pond. And I think it's John Cleese is it's Michael Palin running back and forth, holding this little like sardine. And he's running back and forth and running up and then slapping John Cleese in the face with it. And then stepping back, and then he runs. It's only about 7 seconds long. And on the last one, he hits him harder, and he falls into the quarry or whatever. And it's totally silly, and there's like silly music playing. And that's almost like a perfect, almost like TikTok right there. And that was 1969 or whatever. Yeah, that's exactly. Crazy. But there is something short and small. And I think it's also how younger generations love all things Japanese. Yeah. I think there's something there too, because I think it's the smallness. Things that get smaller, it's like the chips get smaller, the wirings in the chips and the content gets smaller and shorter too. And people seem to like that. The young people like these things that are shorter and smaller, and it's interesting until it becomes nothing. Until there's nothing.
My two youngest, one is 20 and the other's 22. When they were much younger, say 10 years ago, YouTube was their thing, but not like 35-minute long videos on YouTube, like short 5-minute, 8-minute videos. And they've never been like big TV watchers or anything like that. They've always had a much shorter attention span. And
the older one is starting to get into longer things now.
Yeah.
Well, she's 22.
Yeah.
Thinking's different. I mean,
no, for sure. No, same. My kid's the same age. I know exactly what you mean.
Very interesting and telling, though, because entertainment it used to always be like a communal thing in a family. Everyone would gather around and they'd watch such and such on Tuesday night and this thing on Wednesday night. And now it's
Right.
like a whole bunch of people just disconnected. Why,
Right.
even when people watch TV together these days, they got their damn phone on with YouTube watching videos.
Look at the same. Yes. And this actually, that brings us to the question of individualism and hyper individualism, right? Isn't that where, especially American culture has gone, is down the path of intensely hyper individualism. But what do you lose? That you lose the connection, you lose the family connection, you lose the group connection, the social, what I call in my TEDx talk, social closeness. You get your own screen and your own personal space, and no one fucks with you. I'm an only child, but I feel like saying, like, you mean it's where, individualism is where everyone gets to be the only child, or something like
Dear
that.
God.
I don't know.
Everything you're saying upsets me to my entire core.
Well,
as a millennial, I don't fit in.
I have an important question.
But it's true.
How does one get to do a TEDx talk?
I will tell you how I did it, because it's not, some strange sound. I think that I was doing the clapper. It's not easy. I'll tell you that. I actually took a proper, very good training called Thought Leader that I saw from an ad on Instagram, and turned out to be very successful. And I was 10 out of 10 happy with the training itself, by the way. And I within a matter of months, I did. Ultimately, the process involved, obviously, essentially fleshing out an entire talk. You don't have to write the whole thing to apply, but you have to essentially be able to answer any single possible question that's on any submission form. And everyone is a little bit different. So you create a document, so you're ready to go. I then applied to 100 in a span of 3 weeks. And then on the 100th, I got a yes. And I got a couple other yeses, or a couple other maybes. And anyway, and it ended up on one. And then I just did that in February, and it came out about 2 months later, or just a few weeks ago. And I'm really happy with it as well. So I feel really lucky that I was able to do it, get it done, do it well. And it came out well, and it looks good. I'm really happy with they seem to make me look younger and more tan than I actually am in real life. So that's always a nice thing on that too. I appreciated that.
You live in Arizona and you're not as tan as you'd like to be. What's wrong with you?
Right. It's been a cold winter. It's been a cold spring. Yeah, so you can do it on your own, but it sure isn't easy. I will say that. And there's a lot of programs and different classes and coaches that'll teach you how to do it, for sure. In my case, I'm doing it actually to parlay it into an actual career of paid public speaking,
right?
Speaking, as they call it, and that sort of thing. Because I really like the process, and I've also done a lot of acting, so I like that sort of space, that performance-y art, acting, presenting, public speaking space. So
yeah, and that's usually what people use that for, is like a little bit of a launch pad into that.
For sure.
There's a lot of speaker programs out there that will help you. They're not cheap, but they'll help you get the start. And I'm sure if you have the money, it's a lot easier. But what you described is just persistence. I'm really impressed with that, actually.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's not easy or common at my age to necessarily change careers like this. But anyway, it felt like the right thing to do. And it's been a lot of fun already.
Did you hear what he just said? I'm 59 years old, and in this next 12 months, I am transitioning to full-time content creation. My eyes are going crazy. I can't do the tech stuff. So I've been grooming this guy that I've been working with for 5 years to take over as the manager. And then all I will do, I'll meet the clients. I'll answer their questions. I'll translate the information. But it's funny because I know exactly how you feel, because it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a little scary because you're like, here I am.
Yeah. No, and everyone's calling us boomers, even though we're Gen Xers. And we have to put on our glasses to read that thing. We're like, come on, Sonny, just press play. Grandpa's got a lot of fucking juice today. Let's get it.
Well, and it's funny because I got some advice about a week or two ago at a conference about just this guy was talking about how he was trying to increase how many people watch his video to the end. And he had 500, he had 10% was watching at the end. And he was all upset by that. And the guy leading the thing goes, how many views did you get? And he goes like 5,600. And he said, then you had 560 people who enjoyed what you had to say enough to listen all the way to the end. Think about that. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's, so the point being, you just do your thing. And
yeah, that's awesome. I love that though.
So good luck with that. I think you have a good chance at a good career with that. I think you speak really well. And you know what, Toria? You need to start a YouTube channel with all your videos have that background. Every single video.
It's the background of my people.
Oh yeah. No, that one's tight. That's tight. I had a friend
ASMR. I only learned what that is recently.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love ASMR videos.
Jesus and I will do it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I had a friend go up to the top of Norway to see them just during the winter.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I grew up in the Rocky Mountains in Canada, so Aurora for 2 or 3 months of the year.
Oh, sweet.
Well, guys, as much as I'm enjoying our banter, we're running out of time. You know what? Why don't you tell us? You don't have to spell anything out or anything. I'll get this into the notes.
We're all running out of time, Mike. It could be the last.
Yes, I'm moving faster than you, though. I'm a few years ahead. But tell people where they can connect up with you. So they can see more of you, hear more of you, and find out what you're up to.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I guess I'll maybe say 2 things quickly. I'd love for people to see my TEDx talk that just came out, as I say, came out about 3-4 weeks ago now. If they just search TEDx and then my name, Jason Corder, Corder, like recorder, which was my first instrument back in 1975 or something. Of course, the recorder. Everybody's okay. Sorry. And otherwise, they can go to my website where they can book me to speak or coach or consult or just stare at weird, bad pictures of me that probably have bad resolution because I'm a Gen Xer. And that website is the name of my new company. It's called Tactile Land. So the word tactile and land, tactileland.com is my website for being a speaker.
Rad. I have to say, I have enjoyed the conversation. I think, you know what? I was skeptical of the Monty Python leading to TikTok thing, but you know what? In the end, for one thing, you gave the perfect example of that 1 7-second skit. Like that is with the crazy music, that's a TikTok, literally. And then when ChatGPT said it's a digital continuation, I was like, ding, ding, light comes on. It's like I can tell you this, I'll never be a good TikTok creator.
No, you will. Come on.
I don't know. She knows.
I don't know. I got a thing for that small clip, and I'll look when I'm starting too. So we're both starting. I'm going to look at your shit. I will see in your shit a little piece, the pieces that should become TikTok.
On that note, there's not much left to say.
Well,
there you go.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for being on the show, Jason.
It's our pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thanks. I'm speaking for you. I was feeling so empathic towards the two of you that I said, it's our pleasure.
Hasta la bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.